Can you tell me a bit about what you're working on in terms of AI?
Yeah, so we're starting up an AI initiative here in TSSG, and it's all really around, well, how do people want to communicate with their applications or with their services? And what we're noticing is more and more it's through conversational commerce type applications or conversational interfaces. So do you just want to talk to an application and say, hey, what's my bank balance? Hey, how many minutes have I got left on my telco service? Or, numerous different ways like that. And it has to be very passive, very unintrusive mode of engagement. You see examples such as the Amazon Echo or Alexa, as she's called, or Google Home. It's been released in the US and hopefully it's coming out soon in Europe as well. And these are all just different examples of how conversational interfaces are really taking over, and the accuracy that the likes of Amazon, Facebook, Google, IBM, and numerous of Apple have put into the AI side of things to be able to break down conversation, to be able to understand what it says, and then understand what the intent of it is, and then give you a result that's truly what you wanted. It's the power, the technology is there now. What we're building is a whole tranche of apps and services that will really, be of immense value to consumers on a day-to-day basis.
So that's quite interesting when you say that, because you can see why Apple are working really hard to get developers to do more with things like Siri, for example.
Correct.
So
yeah.
I'm driving in my car and I just go to my phone. Hey Siri, what's my bank balance?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. Or hey Siri, can you book
Yeah.
a room in the hotel
Correct.
tonight, whatever I'm staying?
Yeah. Yeah. So when you think about it, though, what are the challenges there, though? I don't know if you've seen the news article around Amazon Alexa, where a kid asked Alexa, "Hey, do you want to play Dollhouse with me?" And 2 days later, a dollhouse and some cookies arrived in the mail. So obviously, it begs the question around security. So how is that going to be handled? Because the last thing we want is to put up barriers or blockages. So when you ask, what's my bank balance? And it has to go down into this whole security routine of, well, what's the third digit of your PIN and the fifth digit of your PIN or something like this. We needed to get it to a point where all that is handled very passively. So it understands from your voice who you are, what you are, the behavior associated with it, so that it is very comfortable, and the banks are very comfortable, or the third-party providers are very comfortable to engage with their clients in this way, and they know that security is not a risk. Data privacy is obviously another very hot issue when it comes to these type of interfaces. And what we're seeing now is that a lot of the processing is done in-house or within your own network. So for example, with Alexa, it's a lot of the processing can be done on the actual AWS or Amazon device that sits in your home, and only some information goes out into the cloud. Well, how can we make sure that, one, we keep this trend happening, but two, we always focus on a very much a privacy first way of doing this side of things. So it's, as I say, it's a very interesting development, and we're seeing some really cool apps coming out. We just got to really make sure that we underpin this technology with some core security, core privacy, and core technology concerns that need to be addressed as well.
And what specific projects are you guys working on here that address those different things?
Yeah, so we're working on numerous different projects here all around this space. So from one aspect of it, we're working quite heavily with a couple of SMEs in Ireland, one called Webio and one called ServiceBots, all around how can we advance conversational interfaces. So one of the biggest challenges is always going to be, well, we've understood what the person said. Well, how do we align that back to a service or an API call, or something that gives back an answer to the AI components? And a lot of that always comes back down to machine learning. So when we talk about the cognitive power of AI, we have to talk about, well, how do we replicate, that, okay, just because you've understood what we've said, giving back the most relevant piece of data. So machine learning is going to be responsible for that cognitive side of things. This is a lot where IBM have put a lot of their resources in terms of IBM Watson, but it's around, well, how can we get this into very niche and bespoke applications so that we're really delivering high impact back to consumers. So when they ask a question, they get the right answer first time. So it's a conversation that they're having with their devices in that instance. Another side of things is we're working quite an awful lot on what we call fog analytics or edge analytics. So how can we start taking on things such as the IoT or the Internet of Things and the power of the small devices to do small levels of machine learning type processing very much at the edge, so that it minimizes the amount of data that has to be transferred from your edge devices such as your smartphones, your sensors, your Amazon, your Nest, your Google Nest devices, your Amazon Alexas, and get it processed locally so that we don't need to haul your personal data all around the country or up to a cloud data center, where it needs additional protections associated with it as well. Like.
Eric, thank you very much. That's super.
Thank you.
Enjoyed this video? Click here for more news from siliconrepublic.com or follow us on social media.